Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Barbara Hamley. Up next on Another View, meet the new police chief in Portsmouth, Chief Tonya Chapman. People who know her professionally says she's a no-nonsense cop with a knack for working in the community, and she can talk to drug dealers on the corner or to the governor about recidivism. Chief Chapman says it's all about building a relationship with the community. She's got a 100-day plan she's about to implement, and if you live in Portsmouth, she just might be knocking on your door. Meet Police Chief Tonya Chapman next on Another View. But first, you know what today is. It's the day you show your love of Another View by becoming a member of WHRV. Let's head on over to Pledge Central, where my two favorite folks are hanging out and enjoying those ringing phones, Sandra Woodward and Dan Carley. Hey, guys.
Hi, Barbara. You know, I was funny. I was just listening. Well, first of all, let me give the phone number because this show is going to be awesome, and you're not going to miss a second of it. So here's the phone number, 889-9476. 757-889-9476. But I don't know about you, Dan. I was listening to her introduce, give the background on this this new police chief, and I thought for a minute she was going to say that sounded like Barbara. Didn't it? She can talk to anybody. She'll hang out with anybody. She'll knock on your door. She brings a community together. Oh, that's Barbara Hamley. No, wait, it's the new police chief of Portsmouth.
Absolutely, and we're looking forward to talking to her. But we do want you to call in because guess what, guys? We have a $2,000 challenge.
We do.
If we can raise $2,000 between now and 1 o'clock, a generous donor has decided to match us dollar for dollar. So we need those calls now, 889-9476.
Well, and this is a time of the week when you don't get this type of programming anywhere else. And so that's what you're paying for. And remember, thank you for that call right there. There's folks that support this program. Mm-hmm. And remember, for every dollar you donate, it's $1 matched up to $2,000 for the challenge. So give us a call because this is programming and conversation and discussion you're not going to find anywhere else on the radio dial. Although none of us actually have a dial anymore, but you get the idea.
The proverbial dial.
So give us a call, 889-9476. Barbara, I have to say that when I heard you doing the intro, I thought it sounded like a movie trailer. A no-nonsense cop who'll be knocking at your door.
Well, I have to tell the folks also who are streaming us live at anotherviewradio.org that if you become a sustainer for $6 a month, that's $72 for the year, you can wear the really cool T-shirt that I am currently wearing. See, I'm looking at the camera. If you're streaming us live, then you can see it's a very nice black T-shirt with WHRV-FM, which is our favorite radio station.
Thing about that, Barbara, as long as I've been here 12 years, and you've been here almost that long too, right?
Almost.
Have we ever had a T-shirt that's just WHRV?
No,
thank you.
Exactly.
We have not had one that's just WHRV. So this is a hot ticket right here.
It absolutely is, and we know that you don't give because of the gifts of support and so forth, but we have them available if you'd like it. But the T-shirt is really cool. So become a sustainer. Just become a member. Whatever is comfortable for your budget, that's what we'd love for you to do. 889-9476. We got a bunch of volunteers standing by.
They're from the Chesapeake Humane Society. Have I got that right? I think I've got that right. Yes, Chesapeake Humane Society are here. They're answering the phones at 889-9476. It is Pet Pledge Friday. We're cutting down to zero. This is the final hours of our spring membership drive, asking you to support what it is that you love. And we know that you love Another View. Yay. So this is time to support it at 889-9476. We're counting down to zero from $28,279. That's what we have left to raise today.
So if we make that $2,000 match, that's going to help tremendously.
It sure
so come on, folks. Now's the time
for dollar match.
And Barbara, a show like today's, where you're talking about some really important issues, a really important subject. A lot of times, folks hear the name Another View and they think it's about a certain subject. But the listeners, the participants, the people that call, the people that pay attention to this show, it's very diverse.
Yes, we try to make sure that we bring something of interest to everyone. We talk about the fact that we bring you a perspective from the African American community, but it is a show that is for everyone. And Dan, as you and I have talked before, the majority of our listeners are not African American,
right.
But I hear from people, and they say, I learned so much. I really appreciate understanding the perspective. And that's what our goal is, because we really want to bring everyone together. And that's why we do Another View. And we'll continue continue to do Another View with your support, 889-9476.
Well, and bringing people together and showing a sense of perspective. Again, when you become a member, and I'm a volunteer, I'm a member, and I'm happy to, I've been coming out to WHRO here since I think 1998.
A while.
Was the first time I came here to do the pledge drives. And I'm asking you to join me as a member because of that perspective, because of the way this station brings people together. You cannot find that anywhere else. That's worth investing in as a listener. That's worth investing in as a member of the community to keep shows like this and to keep one of my favorite radio people, Barbara, and I'm surrounded by my two favorite radio people right now, Barbara and Sandra, on the air, because you cannot do it without your support. So give us a call, 889-9476. Call right now.
And WHRV.org is where you can point, click, and support the station. 889-9476 WHRV.org. Counting down to 0, the final hours of our spring membership drive. It's Pet Pledge Friday, supporting what you love. If you love Another View, this is the time to do it.
Absolutely. And we'll check back with you guys in just a little bit, and we'll go ahead and get the show started.
Discussing today's topics from an African American perspective, this is Another View.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. Just a reminder that we have a $2,000 match challenge, if I could speak today, for our show today. That means if you call 889-9476 between now and 1 o'clock, your pledge of support will be matched dollar for dollar up to $2,000. So support what you love. Another View. Call now, 889-9476. Now, many of you know that my dad passed this past January, but what you may not know is that he was the first African American to attain the position of captain with the Maryland Toll Facilities Authority. Their job is to police the tunnels and surrounding highways in and around Baltimore. He was the highest-ranking black on the force at that time. Our guest today, Chief Tonya Chapman, knows what it's like to be a first. She was the first black female police captain for the Arlington, Virginia Police Department in the early 90s, and she's a first again, this time as the first African-American woman to lead the Portsmouth Police Department. She has a plan to improve morale, decrease crime, and engage the community. Welcome to Another View, Chief Chapman.
Thank you so very much.
So are you all settled in and are you getting busy already, huh?
I am all settled in. Yes, I am off and running.
That is fantastic. Now, I know that you have this 100-day plan that you have put in place. Can you share with us what that is and what you plan for Portsmouth?
Absolutely. Just being able to come to Portsmouth and learn and observe what we're currently doing allowed me to move forth on a plan. The plan isn't a new plan. The actual officers, the captains that are in charge of the department have actually been working on moving towards geographical policing. Mm-hmm. And they were doing so, but it was put on hold because they wanted to wait until a new chief came in order to get my blessing. The benefit to both of us is that I've experienced this type of policing in both of my previous agencies. So it allowed me to quickly give my blessing for the plan because it was very successful in both agencies. And the plan, geographical policing, basically divides up the city in 3 geographical areas, 3 districts. And the officers, whether you're uniform patrol or our neighborhood impact officers, which is our community services unit, they are placed in those districts. And then they are solely responsible for both the crime in the area, crime reduction, as well as citizen engagement.
So they are not anymore going to be floating all over the city. I assume that is what was going on before, but they are assigned to a specific geographic section of the city.
Right.
Allows the community to really get to know them.
Yes, allows them to get to know the community as well as the community to get to know their officers. And it also gives them responsibility for the area, and it allows us to hold both the supervisors and the officers accountable for what's going on in the area.
Why is it so important to have that two-way conversation between the police officer and the community?
Oh, it's vital because, we have a limited number of officers to police the city, and that's everywhere. And we need the citizens to be our eyes and ears. And you have to engage the citizens and build that trust for a two-way communication so they can call in tips and help us solve crimes in the area, because so often people become complacent where they live and they just accept the violence. They don't have to accept it. And if they remain silent, it breeds violence. So we are encouraging individuals, whether you call us directly or call the crime line, to leave an anonymous tip to provide the information so we can work together to clean up the neighborhood.
So some people, when I had the opportunity to work for the Prince George's County Police Department in Maryland, I learned from the inside a lot of things that as a citizen, I really didn't think a lot about. And for example, I know that you have resource officers that are in the schools, that are in the community centers, I assume, and so forth. Explain, though, that their responsibility is as a patrol officers, is as a leadership in terms of they're all law enforcement.
Correct.
Right.
They're all law enforcement officers. As a school resource officer, your area of responsibility is that school. So it is important for you to get to know those children and engage with them on a non-law enforcement related basis. So they are comfortable talking and interacting with the police and the ability to provide information if needed. So
when I was little and growing up, and it could be because my dad was a police officer, but we were taught the policeman is your friend.
They are.
A lot of times, particularly in the African American community, that is not the sentiment that is taught, because a lot of times, particularly little kids, when they see police officers, it's when the red and blue lights are flashing and it's not a positive. Right. How do we turn that around?
Ironically, you say that. I was just at a daycare center earlier this week, and they were like 3 to 5 year olds. And when I approached, the little kid, like 5 years old, and maybe even younger, said, "Oh, is she coming to lock someone up?" And so the instructor immediately said, "No, she's your friend," and tried to change the dialogue to get them to see that the officers, although that's what they normally see at home in their neighborhood, it's up to us to change that impression and to get out and engage with the younger youth as well as the older youth. And back in, earlier in my career, and I was a community policing officer, like you said earlier in the intro, I could talk to the best of them. But the same thing, we would go out on the corner with the drug dealers, and they didn't know if we were coming to arrest them or we were coming to play basketball. So, so we developed that relationship that we could just come and talk, or if someone has to go to jail today, you're going to jail. So it's a matter of relationship building and getting the children to see that there's other avenues besides just locking up individuals, that it's other responsibilities for the police.
Besides just locking them up. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call to join our conversation. If you would like to speak with Chief Chapman, if you have some information or some ideas for her, I'm sure she would love to hear them. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Now, we know that recently there's been a lot of distrust, back and forth in certain neighborhoods in Portsmouth as well as nationwide in terms of police and the Black community. So beyond the small kids, what do you think is the best way to start engaging those who really believe in their heart of hearts that anytime they see that blue uniform, that it's just bad and it can just never be positive?
I think it helps. I have a monthly Chiefs Forum, and so I invite the community to come and speak to me one-on-one or as a group. And I usually give them my vision or whatever the agenda is this month. This month, we're going to go over my 100-day plan, so they're informed. But also engaging with our civic associations, and then looking at other opportunities. The city manager, other department heads, and my command staff, we're going to do community walk and talks. And we're looking at starting them in May. And we're going to knock on doors. We're going to go out into the community and find out what the needs and the concerns are. And the important aspect of that is that it's not always just a police department's problem. It could be behavioral health, or it could be parks and recs, or their blighted issues. So, that's what the importance of giving other departments an opportunity.
So is community policing and this geographical policing also taking into account the whole broken window theory, meaning...
Everything goes back to broken windows. If you solve the small issues, the larger issues will take care of themselves. So, broken windows theory basically says if you leave that broken window there, the rest of the crime is going to increase. But if you fix it and take care of it, you try and alleviate the additional crimes from happening. So.
I chuckled a little bit when I saw in the news stories earlier this week that there was such surprise that you showed up at a homicide scene this week. Is that something you're going to continue to do?
Absolutely. I put in a directive that, all my commanders are going to respond. My narcotics unit, my the gang unit, because usually it's all related. And so if you have all the resources on scene working together, and you show the community you care, the neighborhood will see us, and we're going to canvass the area, and it will most likely lead to an increased possibility of capturing a suspect. So,
how's morale?
Morale, we're working on morale. Everyone seems to say that with me coming, they're excited, and that I have moved that level. We still
so it's not freaking them out that you're showing up.
No. Oh, well. Well, yesterday we had a SWAT call out yesterday, and I responded, and they were like, the chief has never come. So, it's a new day. It's the new Portsmouth. So, yes, I want to know, my officers to know that I'm there and I'm engaged, and I want the citizens to know that we care. And
440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Mark joins us from Norfolk. Hi, Mark. You're on the air.
Hey. Good afternoon, Chief.
Hello.
Hey, good afternoon, Ms. Hamley.
Hi.
Look, good. I have, over the last 6 months, I've been working pretty steadily on developing a concept called the POTC, which is a Police Officer Training Corps, which basically, not to get fancy, basically models itself exactly after the ROTC, but it's going to have the policing aspect involved. And it's multi-pronged, which would be like when you went into the school and they're like, oh, they're coming to get arrested, versus like in many of the junior high schools and high schools where you have the ROTC, now the military uniform now is just an everyday part of an instructor instructing, military science. Where if we were able to adopt and go in that same vein and have a POTC, then the students at the middle and the high school level will start to see officers transitioning in and out for different training. And at the same time, they'll be able to catch and learn a lot of these students and these residents by first name and be able to get name and face recognition. And then also let it be a pathway to where they can also have scholarship to further their education in exchange for service. And I think this is the way, because you can't change the dynamics on the ground overnight. And it's going to have to start with some planning to where you're planting these seeds now with the students to the point where they have a positive outlook for as policing.
Okay, Mark, thanks so much for the call, and we'll let the chief respond.
Yes, actually, it sounds similar to our Police Explorers program, where we engage the youth, especially at the high school level. I am also looking at starting a young adult police chiefs program, where we'll start small with like 4 youths from each of the 3 high schools in Portsmouth and meet with them on a monthly basis. One, to get them to know police tactics and what we do and why we do it, but also look at etiquette, look at opportunities to go on college tours, just, help them build their path and be mentors to them. But I would certainly I'm interested in pursuing what you've discussed. So please reach out to my office and we can set up a time to talk about it.
That'd be great. Thanks so much for the call, Mark. We appreciate that. Recruiting, a problem, and especially in terms of minority candidates. And is it a problem, A? And if so, why? And what can we do about increasing the number of minorities who may decide to go into law enforcement?
Recruiting is a problem. Any metropolitan area, any area that has multiple jurisdictions, there's only a small pool of applicants, and we go after the same applicants. So basically, first offer is the one they're going to take. So I do have to look at what our current recruiting plan is, and we're looking at making adjustments. We have made some minor adjustments to increase the dates that we give our tests. And I heard at the end of the month, I've had more applicants than I've had in a long time signed up to come and take our test. So hopefully that's a move in the right direction. So we are looking at our process internally. But like I said, it's a matter of whoever can get them in the door the quickest will end up with the most qualified applicants.
Well, one thing also, though, is that the educational level of police officers is changing and is getting higher, is getting better because there is a science to it.
Right.
And number two, I think that it's much more of an idea of a career. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. Before, at one point in time, it was kind of just a job, and you came in. It doesn't matter if you had if you didn't have more than a high school diploma, because you went through the academy, you learned the techniques of that unit, and that was it. But now there are a lot more officers who actually have 4-year degrees, 2-year degrees. And does that make it easier and better in terms of your job and what has to be done?
The more educated your officers are, usually or oftentimes the more professional your workforce is. So it does make a difference. But, luckily for us, colleges and universities have partnered with the police over the years to offer cohorts, to get us the education while we're still working. And like you said, most officers look at this as a career. Even if you come in the door thinking I'm just getting a job, most love this career. And we as a profession, law enforcement, we have to change the perception that law enforcement currently has. And just remember, just because a few bad apples had, made unfortunate mistakes, don't, degrade the whole profession, because this is an honorable profession. And those who come and protect and serve, they are really honorable individuals. So.
Why law enforcement for you?
Why law enforcement? It was actually something I wanted to do as a child, and I was told I couldn't because I was a female. So I went to school.
You clearly changed that.
I went to school to be a teacher. And so when I student taught, and I was 21, and I was student teaching high school, and they were 11th and 12th grade. And it was very challenging. And I'm like, this is not for me. I would rather go and carry a gun. So I applied, and I was accepted by the department where I grew up. And so I had the opportunity to police my own neighborhood. And that was very rewarding to me, to be able to make a difference and change the environment of that neighborhood. And, I quickly rose through the ranks, becoming the first female captain.
Was it difficult to in policing your own neighborhood to get some people to go, oh, that's just Tonya, as opposed to, respecting the badge once you received the badge? Did it change relationships for you?
Relationships changed, but we developed an understanding. As long as you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, I'm still Tonya. But if I need to be in police mode, you're going to jail. And it actually saved us from several fights, because one individual was a known police fighter, and she was a female. And I remember we locked her up, and she was like, had you not been here, we would all be fighting. So it saved us in both respects. But, it really helped me because I knew the neighborhoods, because I grew up with them. Right.
What was the hardest part of your training when you were in the academy?
The most challenging part was probably just getting pepper sprayed and, just going through the gas masks and stuff like that, and the after effects. But I was kind of a tomboy, so it wasn't like I had never gone hands-on or wrestled or anything like that. So that wasn't challenging for me. So,
I got you.
I was fortunate enough to gain respect early, and that took me throughout my career.
Were there other women with you?
Yes.
When you were there, did everybody make it?
everyone made it through the academy.
Through the academy,
yes.
yes.
Eventually, after 5 or 6 years or so, people drop off along the way. One of my best friends who went through the academy with me, unfortunately, was shot probably about 5 years on the department, and she ended up not pursuing law enforcement after that. So.
Family life can be tough. I know with me being in the media, having to move a lot and so forth, growing up as the daughter of a police officer, I mean, it's always in the back of your mind that, daddy, mommy may not come home one day. Is that something, how did your family deal with that?
My mother's first reaction was, I did not send you to school to be a police officer, but she is my biggest advocate to this day, and she loves me, and she is truly proud of everything I've done. She has been my blessing throughout my career, because if she was not there for me, I wouldn't have been able to progress through my career as I had. Challenging work assignments, midnights, evenings, whenever like you said, just switching around. And she was always there. And she was there for most of the members on the police department, no matter who you were, because she had a daycare. So she would keep midnight officers. She would keep day work officers. So she was truly a blessing.
Yes, she was. Yes. That's a lot to it, because you have to worry about who's going to take care of your child, and your shift changes, so often.
Right.
Being there. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. What are the questions that you have for Chief Tonya Chapman? So as you look at the upcoming trial of former Officer Rankin, are you concerned, whatever the outcome is there a plan? Are you guys thinking about how you will react in terms of the community and keeping the community safe? Do you think there'll be a big community reaction?
It's always a plan. We're working on our plan. My hope is for us to engage the community better prior to a trial occurring, no matter what the outcome is. And if we have that community backing and they believe that justice was served, because the citizens of Portsmouth are the jurors. So they will make that final decision. And truly, I believe that if they believe that justice was truly served in this best interest, there should not be an adverse impact. But as you know, in most situations, it's not the citizens within the community that are causing all the turmoil. It's those that are outside that want to come in and instigate issues. So we'll deal with them, but we are working with our community groups to try and make sure that everyone goes home safely.
And that is the ultimate goal, that everyone goes home safely. We're going to be talking a little bit more about technology. That's what I want to talk to you about when we come back. But we're going to go over to Pledge Central. I know we're a little bit early, but are they ready for us by any chance? Sandra and Dan? Because I'm really curious as to how we're doing with our fundraising.
We are so close. We need the phone to ring. We're only a few $100s away, but we need that phone to ring.
That's fantastic.
And we can match that challenge. But we are so close, you can taste it.
That is fantastic.
888-99476 is the number you can call to get in on. We've got a dollar for dollar match happening right now. Someone put up a little kitty of cash, if you will. It's Pet Pledge Friday. See what I did there?
I did.
I'm no Raymond Jones, but I try.
Thank you.
889-9476 is how you can pledge your support to support what you love. If you love Another View, as Albert Duckworth does from Norfolk, he is a brand spanking new member. Love to get the new members in here. It says he enjoys Another View, helps him think outside his own viewpoint. And that, my friends, is what public radio is all about. So welcome to the family. Albert, 889-9476 is how you can join him.
And programs like this today, and Barbara, thank you so much for the show like this. And Chief, thank you for being a part of the show, because it's days like this that remind me so much of why I appreciate WHRV so much. The long form interview, the getting a chance to listen to more than a soundbite, to getting a chance to really meet people, get to know the people. And thank you for that call. I don't know if you can hear that one phone, the far right that just rang. Thank you for joining us. We're getting closer to that challenge of $2,000, but getting to meet the people who are the news makers and the news breakers out there, and not just hearing sound bites, but really getting to dig deep into stories and emotions and people's motivations. And I think today, Chief Tonya Chapman and the interview with Barbara is a perfect example of the value of this station and why we need to be supporters of it. And call 889-9476 or 1-800-940-7170. You can't find conversations like this anywhere else.
No, you can't. And that's really why we do these pledge drives, is because the money that we put together during these pledge drives is what goes on to pay for the programming you're listening to. It pays for this radio station. It pays for the local programming. Also something that can be tough to come by sometimes if you go up and down the proverbial dial.
Right.
889-9476 is where you can own a little piece of Another View, because that's what you're doing. You're investing in what you're listening to. That money goes towards programs like Another View. It helps pay for it. It helps keep it coming back every Friday. So if this is where you find yourself every Friday at noon, you can own a little piece of it. And if you do, like Albert Duckworth now owns a little piece of Another View, when he listens next Friday, it'll sound just a little bit different, a little bit sweeter, a little bit better.
And if you hear the energy in the room right now, that's because now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people on the phones, but we still have 2 callers, 2 volunteers waiting to take your call. So give us a call, support Another View, help us reach that $2,000 challenge. Because remember, every dollar you give right now, until we reach that goal, gets matched by another dollar on this challenge. So double the flavor, double the fun. Isn't that what the old saying was?
I think that's
absolutely.
Yes.
Give us a call right now, 889-9476. This is where, this is where we could put your money where Barbara Hamley's mouth is, right? Because this is how we keep the show going and the conversation going. 889-9476. Or you can go online. In addition to making the phones ring, you can make the computer ping. We'll hear that at WHRV.org and look for that button at the top that says Support Now, and we'll hear the ping on the air.
And if you're wondering how much it costs to be a member, it really does cost whatever works for your budget. The folks on the other end of 889-9476 will explain that to you, whether it's a couple, $2, $3, $4 a month, or $10 a month, or $100 a month, whatever works for you, whatever works for your budget, all of that goes towards supporting what you're listening to. Another View, if this is where you find yourself listening every Friday, this is what we like to call appointment listening in the business.
Absolutely.
You find yourself here on Fridays at noon listening to this, listening intently to it too. It's not one of those background things,
right.
You're listening right now. And hopefully you're calling right now because you don't want to miss another minute of this interview with the chief. And if you call right now, we can get in on this challenge. Dollar for dollar match happening right now. 889-9476 WHRV.org.
And don't think a couple dollars a month doesn't make a difference. Don't think $50 for the year or a one-time pledge or whatever you can afford doesn't make a difference, because think about it. As you hear these phones ring and you hear our volunteers talking, it's like that old Final Net commercial. You remember when they told 2 friends and they told 2 friends and so on? Together as a community, we can come together and make a world of difference.
It's the original crowdsourcing. That's what I was saying.
Absolutely, that's right. You're absolutely right. So let's kickstart this challenge right now and give us a call. We have a couple people jumping off the phones now. I see 2 volunteers ready. So now's the time to call. We've got about 2 minutes left in this break. So now is the time for you to dial 889-9476. Call, talk to our volunteers. Take 90 seconds or 89.5 seconds to just answer a few questions and support public radio. This is the last day of the pledge drive. Don't forget, it's Pet Pledge Friday. So you can talk about your cats, talk about your dogs, talk about your parrots, talk about your gerbils.
I don't know where the pet rocks are.
Pet rocks.
I keep waiting for the pet rocks. For 12 years, I've been waiting for somebody to call up on behalf of their pet rock, and no one ever does.
Well, if we have to turn rocks over, we'll find you. So give us a call. 889. See, I can't do the Ray puns. I can't. I'm not in the same
I'm not sure
mood.
You want to, actually.
I don't know. 889-9476 is the number to call, or 1-800-940-7170.
I have to know, if you're watching online right now, this is what's great about Another View. You can watch at anotherviewradio.org. Barbara Hamley is modeling our brand new WHRV T-shirts.
Very nice.
Very nice.
There it is.
Yes, indeed.
Absolutely.
That, my friends, is at $6 a month. That shirt is yours. So not only do you own a little piece of Another View,
it's very cool.
You get a dollar for dollar match if you call in now at that level. And you get the brand new WHRV black T-shirts, black with white writing with our little logo on it. It can take you from day to night. Am I right? Am I right on that, Barbara?
Oh,
you can wear during the day.
Right.
Put a little belt on it, some nice earrings. You got it for evening wear too.
You got it. You can take it anywhere you need to go.
I now have my outfit picked out for tonight. Thank you very much. We've got 30 seconds left in this break. Call us now.
That's right. You don't want to miss another minute of this conversation. Barbara, I'm being told, actually, that we're pretty close to making it there in that $2,000 challenge.
Let's get
so
one more call. I bet if we
fantastic.
had one more call in the next 15 seconds, we would make that challenge. So call right now. It's you, 889-9476. Call us. Help us meet that challenge for another view to match your dollars. Let's hear that phone ring as soon as we go back to Barbara with another view. Barbara, thank you for all you do.
Thank you all so very much. And thank you to all the listeners out there who are making that call of support to 889-9476. Now, let me remind you, if you call 440-2665. You can talk to Chief Chapman, and it won't cost you a thing. So she's looking forward to your calls here on the show, 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. If you're just joining us, we're talking with the new Chief of Police for the Portsmouth Police Department, Chief Tonya Chapman. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. So, body cameras, what do you think?
Our department is fully staffed with body cameras. Every officer has body cameras. We have over 220 deployed. So, I mean, we're ahead of the curve.
That is, I did not realize that.
Neither did I until I arrived.
So, I mean, but you had to also figure out like how to archive that and,
right.
And, you know, can you give us just a little bit of the kind of the backstory of how it all works?
Yeah, body cameras, it is very challenging. I sat on the Body Camera Law Enforcement Commission when I was Deputy Secretary. So we went through all the logistics because there are a lot of logistics. Everybody thinks the panacea is to give every officer a body camera. Body cameras are extremely expensive because you have to archive all the video. So you have to work through the logistics. And the archiving and the data storage is what is most costly. But you have to be able to share that information and the Commonwealth's attorneys. And you have to realize what impact it has, because now a Commonwealth attorney preparing for a case, if 12 officers arrived on the scene, they have to watch video footage for all 12 officers.
Wow.
Because you have to give all that information to the defense. Anything that's coming up in trial. So it's putting a burden on our Commonwealth's attorneys. So we need to work out better logistics on how to share that data. And we use currently a technology called evidence.com where, you can pull up, but the officer has to archive it. They come in.
So it's the officer's responsibility to archive
yes.
it.
They have to check out a video camera every day at the beginning of their shift. They have to turn it on when they're responding to a call, when they're at a crime scene, or if they're on a traffic stop. So whenever they're engaging in police activity, it has to be on. At the end of the shift, they bring it in to our records unit. They put it in pretty much the box, and it downloads the information. But they are responsible for putting the numbers on it, the report numbers, and making sure if it's for evidence that it's marked properly and where it needs to go. So, and then you get into the whole retention schedule, how long you can keep it.
And how long can you keep it?
Well, the Library of Virginia dictates how long it is kept. There is no set. The department doesn't have any set procedures per se on how long it's retained. The Library of Virginia says if it's of evidentiary value, you keep it for a certain amount of time, whether it's 20 years, 30 years, or whatever it is. And if it's not, some departments get rid of it within a week, some 30 days or more. But sometimes there's other investigations that come up, like a citizen's complaint. So the Library of Virginia says that you have up until a year if it does not have any type of evidentiary value to get rid of the video camera. So everyone's policy is going to be different.
Now, I know prior to coming to Portsmouth, you were the Deputy Secretary for Homeland Security.
Public Safety and Homeland Security.
So from a statewide perspective, in terms of protecting ourselves from both domestic as well as international terrorism, is Virginia in a good place, number one? And number two, what should citizens really be thinking about in terms of how they can assist in our everyday lives to make sure that we stay safe?
Right. VCU had done a poll, a statewide poll, prior to us leaving office. And I can tell you, although the perceptions of law enforcement was actually high in that poll, and the engagement of law enforcement and how law enforcement engages with their community was very high, like in the 80s. So we were very proud of that response, whereas Homeland Security was not as much. And so we know we have some work to do there, but there is, I think it's readyvirginia.gov, where you can go on and look at what you should be doing, because it is the individual's responsibility to ensure you are prepared in case of an emergency, because the police department and the fire department, they're going to be working on the incident. And so you have to be able to sustain yourself within, whether sheltering in place or going to an evacuation point, for at least 3 days. And so that ready.gov, Virginia, readyvirginia.gov, I believe, is and it'll help you. It has a plan for you to work through to make sure you're prepared for an emergency.
Okay, we have a question from Facebook. Someone wants to know what the department is doing to combat cyber crimes. Your department.
Right. That's a good question. Well, cybercrime is an issue. And, we have units that direct themselves towards that. Specifically, I can't tell you what we are doing because I've only been there a little over a month. But it is an area of concern for everyone. And there's like a port security grant right now that the state is offering for us to try and increase our capabilities against cybercrime.
How about taking care of your officers in terms of, I'm sure if it's anything like the newsroom, there become times where you just get mentally burned out. So do you switch them around? Well, now that you're setting up these geographic districts, for example, would you switch them to a different area or perhaps a different job within law enforcement? How, if you see an officer that looks like he or she is kind of getting to the edge, what happens?
Well, the first thing to do is to have that conversation. And we have resources available like employee assistance plan. So if it's something that is brought to our attention or the supervisor notices, you have that one-on-one conversation. Are there family issues? Seeing how we can help that officer get through the issues. If it's a matter of burnout, you could try and give them different assignments. The good thing about police work, there's always, revolving doors as far as job placement. And so you have so many opportunities that arise that you can put in for different positions, whether it's mounted patrol, whether it's the dive team, whether it's uniform patrol or criminal investigation. So there are just so many different opportunities. So an officer doesn't get burned out. And so, I was a school resource officer, evidence technician, you name it. I was the assistant to the chief. I've done a lot of things in my career. Criminal investigations commander, IT commander. So, you
was
have
there a favorite?
My favorite was HR commander because my focus was trying to recruit and retain and increase diversity in my agency. And I was very successful in my former agency in doing that. So that was very rewarding to me.
So talk about civilian jobs that are available, because people don't think about the fact that you can work for the police department and not actually be an officer.
Right. We need 911 dispatchers. We are very
Are you listening,
challenged
audience out there?
With finding great 911 dispatchers. And so it's open. Please go on our website, the city human resources website, and apply. So that's a great civilian job. That is actually National Telecommunications Week. So the fire chief and I have been taking them food all week to show our appreciation, because they are the first ones to answer the call. They answer that 911 call. So they're the unseen heroes behind the scenes. But you have our records jobs, our property and evidence. We have a lot of civilian jobs. Everyone has an administrative assistant. So there are a lot of opportunities out there. So please go to Portsmouth City HR website and apply for the job.
So before you came to Portsmouth, I'm quite sure that you heard, because I know when I moved from city to city being in media, you hear things about a city or about the area and so forth. So I'm not going to ask you what you heard prior to coming. What I am going to ask you is, did you find it? Or have you found that while there may be challenges, it's a lot better than the perception?
Absolutely. I think we're very blessed in Portsmouth. I mean, even though we have financial challenges, the police department is well taken care of. To know I had a mounted unit and a dime. We have lots of resources. We have an armored tank that some other departments don't have. But through grants and other opportunities, they were able to acquire these. So, we have been very fortunate.
I'm curious when you bring up the armored tank, because in Ferguson, because there was a grant from the federal level, that a lot of police departments were able to get that type of equipment. What is your thought about usage and again, having a plan, because Ferguson police got a lot of flack for bringing out the tanks and so forth, as opposed to more one-on-one engagement, I guess.
Our armored tank is used by our SWAT team. So when that is deployed, is in a critical situation, and it's the expectation that there are high-powered weapons involved. So we mainly use the tank as cover for our officers to get closer to the building. So you can bring your team closer without them having to take fire, and where the tank would do it. So it could be a very useful tool if you use it correctly.
If it's used correctly. So it's difficult, or is it difficult for officers of color to rise to the top? Because you're in a unique situation as a police chief, as a female, and as an African American, because there aren't a lot across the country.
It can be challenging, but I am true to form that it can be done. And by me being selected as chief of police, it gives inspiration to a lot of individuals to know it can be done. It was about fortitude and me being persistent and pursuing my goals. I had always wanted to be chief of police, and the key was me being prepared at every level for every opportunity. You can't just say you want to do something if you don't prepare for it. And, scoring number one when I was a sergeant, and, each time going up through the ranks is because I prepared myself for that opportunity. So if you're on the playing field, they have to at least talk about you. And because if you end up last on the test, you're not even on the playing field.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
It's about your own endurance and perseverance. And
not only testing within the department, but you were also working on 2 master's degrees?
Well, I've finished 2 master's degrees, and I'm working on my PhD. So, yes. But that was me trying to have that competitive advantage. Being a black female in this male-dominated world, I got my first master's early on, and no one else had it. And then a cohort came along, and then they all had a MPA. So I'm like, well, let me go back and get my MBA. So trying to have that competitive advantage. And then once I got my second, my MBA, it was like, well, tech keeps taking me back, so I might as well finish my PhD. So, so just, trying to have that competitive advantage. And
congrats on the PhD, and we're wishing you well on that one. So sexism, an issue as you were coming through the ranks?
In some regards, I mean, yeah, because they treat women differently, and there were instances where you could tell if a male had done it, it would not have been an issue versus a female. And I filed a couple EEO complaints along the way to get my point across, but they will do what you allow them to do. So if someone just keeps saying, well, that's just him or that's just her, then they're going to continue to do it. But once you take action, it stops that action.
So nobody had any problems with you being their partner of that?
No.
So, okay, here's a question I have for you. Fill in the blank to this question, okay? If only citizens understood blank about law enforcement, relations between police and those they serve would be much better.
If citizens only understood our job, I mean, what we have to do on a day, what we have to endure on a day-to-day basis. I mean, because, you would like every officer to be, the most respectful person there is out there. but we engage with a lot of people, and we're human. And, your reaction usually, or your action usually dictates my reaction. Some officers are not like that. They set the tone. But usually it's the citizen's tone that dictates how you're treated. Like in a traffic stop, and you're kind and respectful, you may get off with a warning. But I can tell you, if you're indignant, you will get every charge there is. If you have a license plate that's expired, if you have tinted windows, everything they can come up with. So your action dictates the officer's reaction. So, being respectful on both sides leads to better outcomes.
Is it still necessary then, particularly for Black parents, to still have the conversation, particularly with their sons, about the way that they should react if they are stopped by the police?
I think it's important for everyone to have that conversation. In my former agency, we actually did a pamphlet. What do you do when you're stopped by the police, and whether that's a traffic stop or not? And we went around to the communities to talk to individuals, Black or white or Hispanic or purple, whatever, to have that conversation. Because I've seen a YouTube video with a white male where all he kept saying is, I'm 16, I'm this, or Martise, I go to UVA. I mean, so it's important for everyone to have that conversation on what do you do when you're stopped by the police. And the bottom line is, follow the directions of the officers. Keep your hands in plain view. And, if you're going to get something, just let the officer know. Just let them know.
I need to reach into my purse to get my license out or whatever.
Exactly. Just let them know. So there is, everyone's on the same playing field.
Okay. All right. So here's another question, kind of framed a similar way, but on the other side. So if only police understood blank about citizens, the relationship would be better between police and those they serve.
Where they're coming from, understand their background and, what they have endured, their expense. If the police only understood that, everyone's not privileged, or some people are overprivileged and they're entitled to things. So if police understood who they're interacting with better, it may lead to.
And do you think that will help with the geographical division of the city?
Absolutely. It would definitely help. But along the same lines, we are going toward, this summer we have a procedural justice training, and it's about treating everyone fair. And it helps you to realize that everyone has biases, but you need to keep your biases in check and not allow it to impact your job. So whatever those biases are, it trains the officers to be aware of your biases, but to make sure everyone is treated fair, and with dignity.
And so everybody, all the officers will go through this training?
Initially, I think there's a group of it, and then we'll do a trainer to get everyone else done. And we're also trying to incorporate it in the police academy so the new officers will come in.
That's interesting. So that's not a part of the police academy at this point?
Not at this point. They're trying to put in bits and pieces of it, from what I understand. But no, it has not. I mean, we get racial or diversity training in different aspects, but with 21st century policing has moved us to a new level. Some do fair and impartial policing and stuff like that, but just trying to make everyone more aware.
So what are the new trends in policing now? When you say fair and impartial policing, for example, what does that mean? Can you give us an example of it? Of how it looks?
Right. Same thing I just described. Knowing what your biases are and knowing how to keep them intact in dealing with everyone on an even playing field, no matter what.
Regardless of who they are.
Exactly.
So what are some of the other new techniques or new ways of policing that maybe 10 years ago when that you would not have done as a police officer that you're doing now?
President Obama put a task force together on 21st century policing, and he came up with several recommendations. And some are moving towards, and one of the recommendations are to have some type of citizen review or oversight, but trying to engage the citizens more in your policy development, like the body cameras. Instead of just putting a policy together and putting it out there, getting buy-in. That same thing I want to do with geographical policing. I'm getting the buy-in from the officers internally, but I also want citizens buy-in to show, one, we're not just taking away because they all have their neighborhood impact officer, and that's my officer, to show them they're not losing an officer, they're gaining a group of officers. Sure. So I think that is changing, trying to get more citizen input and involvement in what we do on a day-to-day basis.
So you're going to be starting to knock on doors pretty soon.
Yes.
Well, what do you want the citizens to tell you?
What
are you
going
looking
on
for
in their neighborhood? Give us some insight. How are we working? What is their perception of the police department, and what can we do to change that perception if it needs to be? But also just find out whether there's crime in the area, where the drug houses are, where the kids that are not going to school, where they're hanging out, just information, just as much information as possible.
Do you think you'll get past the whole snitch idea in certain neighborhoods?
That is a challenge, but I'm going to try. And that's why I said, even if someone's not willing to speak to us directly, we have the crime line, 1-888 lock you up, right? So you can call, and you can get money from that. If you give information that leads to an arrest, or towards the conclusion of an investigation, you can get money for that, and it's totally anonymous. So, wow. Yeah.
Well, Chief Tonya Chapman, we are welcoming you to Hampton Roads.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to Portsmouth, and it's been a pleasure talking with you. And we want to get you back once you had 6 to 12 months under your belt and see how things continue to go.
Sounds great.
All right.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
No, it's not Chief Chapman's birthday or mine. It's actually our producer, Lisa Godley. Happy birthday, Lisa. Tomorrow is her birthday. Lisa fills in for me when I can't be here on the air. She always backs me up, and she is such a vital part of our team. And we just want you to know how much we love you, Lisa, and just to say happy birthday to you. And we want to also wish Chief Chapman well in her role as the new Chief of Police in Portsmouth. She shared some great information with us, and if you'd like to hear the show again or share it with a friend, please visit our website, anotherviewradio.org, and download the podcast. Friend us on Facebook, and I'm on Twitter at Barbara Ham Lee. I'm also inviting you to attend a luncheon sponsored by the Association of Fundraising Professionals Hampton Roads chapter. I will be speaking about diversity and fundraising. It's Tuesday, April the 19th at 11:30 a.m. at the Town Center Club in Virginia Beach. Now, there are only 6 seats available, so if you'd like to come, call Dory Morrison right now at 889-9477. That's 889-9477, and I'd sure love to see you there. And today is the final day for our spring membership drive. And on behalf of producer Lisa Godley and audio engineer Victor Bowen, thank you so much for your support of Another View. Your membership dollars pay for shows like Another View and Hearsay with Kathy Lewis and all of the other programs that you enjoy on 89.5 WHRV-FM. Your support allows us to do things like the Race Let's Talk About It town hall meetings we've held this year. And frankly, it lets our bosses know that you still find what we share on Another View to be relevant and interesting to your lives. So, thank you. And there's still time for you to support what you love. 889-9476 or WHRV.org. And be sure to tell the volunteers how much you love Another View. Now, I'm waiting for Lisa to let me know whether we made our goal or not. And so in the meantime, next week on Another View on health with Dr. Keith Newby, we're going to be talking about ways to protect our children from child abuse. Our theme music was composed and performed by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Victor Bowen is our audio engineer, and Melanie Booth answered our phones. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. We made it, y'all. And special hello to Mary Alice, who is Mary Alice Beal, one of our favorite listeners. Thanks, Mary Alice, for coming. We'll see you next Friday at noon right here on Another View.